Hi, this is Rich,
And this is Melody.
and this is the Watercooler. And we're actually joined today by Sean Alexis. How you doing today, Sean?
Oh, I'm not too bad. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, always.
Sean is our very awesome admin from Black Lives Now, blnow.org.
So,
Yeah.
yeah, go ahead, Sean. If you got anything you want to say about yourself?
No, I mean, I really enjoy doing the work. Working with Black Lives Now has been definitely an interesting experience. I've met some unique people along the way, but yeah, I'm happy to be here.
Sean is a father, an operations manager, and newly not single. Sorry, ladies.
Ooh.
Ooh, and good friend of Melody and I's.
Yes.
Yeah,
Good.
absolutely.
Okay. So one thing that we want to do here on our second podcast, right? We're going to do a different kind of format today. And one thing that we're going to do is we're going to read some news stories, mainly by myself, and we're going to get some feedback from Melody and Sean. Okay. So the first story that I have, are you guys ready for this?
I'm ready.
Yeah,
Okay.
go ahead.
It's called the Palmetto Cheese Story.
Pimento cheese?
No, Palmetto Cheese Story.
I completely
Oh.
thought you were going a different direction with that. When you said palmetto, the first thing I envisioned was like a giant cockroach flying at my face.
Yeah. Of course.
Sean has grown up in Florida.
Yeah, if we can tell that. Just right there you got your Florida badge.
Yeah. So is this like a cheese shaped like a palmetto roach?
No.
I think this is a brand name, right?
Yeah, this is. So basically, this is not only a brand name, Palmetto Cheese, but also Costco is all caught up in this.
Oh
Right?
my God.
So Costco is of course, a Florida favorite.
I love Costco. Costco, don't be a D word.
Well, let's see, right? This is for you guys to comment on once I'm done. So let me go ahead and go through the story here. Calls to boycott, quote, woke Costco after it pulls popular palmetto cheese from 120 stores because dairy company founder slammed BLM as a, quote, terror organization.
What?
Yeah. So furious shoppers have threatened to boycott Costco over its, quote, woke decision to remove popular palmetto cheese from 120 of its stores after the founder of the dairy organization, I already said this, right? Sorry, copy paste. The hashtag, quote, boycott Costco was trending on Twitter Wednesday afternoon, with hundreds of critics blasting the retailer for removing an American made product from its shelves and stifling its free speech.
Oh, crap.
What do you think so
Uh,
far, Sean?
I mean, honestly, like the CEOs and like people marketing were probably like happy to get rid of the cockroach cheese. I mean, like they're
I
probably
know,
like,
right?
this is like a terrible name. It's probably not selling as well
I
as they
love
thought.
it.
This
The
was just like a good
cockroach
excuse.
cheese. I
They
I
were
love
like,
it so
yeah,
far.
like that palmetto thing in Florida is not really working out so well anyway. Let's get rid of it. That's probably how that conversation went.
So here we go, right? Imagine yourself as the buyer for Costco, right, of dairy and cheese products. Let me go ahead and read to you what the CEO and founder of Palmetto Cheese said. The issue began. Oh, I'm sorry. It becomes after Palmetto Cheese owner Brian Buck Henry, who is also the mayor of Pawleys Island, South Carolina, blasted Black Lives Matter on his own Facebook page, calling the movement a, quote, terrorist organization. The issue began when Henry posted an angry rant on his Facebook page last month, decrying the slaying of, quote, two white people defensively gunned down by a black man. Henry Screed referenced the August 24th killings of Nick Wall and his 21-year-old stepdaughter, Laura Anderson, who police say were shot and killed by Tysheem Walters III after a car crash and altercation in Georgetown, which also injured a third person. So, okay, we got that, right? Let's go into this. This is where it gets a little heinous, okay? So why do we stand by, and this is a quote by him, so why do we stand by and allow BLM to lawlessly destroy great American cities and threaten their citizens on a daily basis? Henry wrote the following day. Quote, should they have carte blanche license to pillage and destroy? Why? This has gone too far. Rise up, America. This BLM and Antifa movement must be treated like the terror organizations that they are. End quote. Henry, who is white, went on to state, quote, all lives matter. There, I said it. So am I racist now? Question mark.
Yes.
I think not. How about the POS who just gunned down 3 defenseless white people? You be the judge. So what do you guys think of that so far?
Well, Costco was the judge, and your cockroach cheese is out. Just saying.
What do you think, Sean?
I mean, to me, it just sounds like a scared white guy that lives in South Carolina that doesn't really know that many black people passing judgment.
That's true.
I mean, like, how many black people probably live in his, like, white suburban neighborhood in the middle of South Carolina? I mean, maybe 10. I mean, he probably knows one of them, if he even knows them.
That's a good point.
So, I mean, I don't know. I just think it sounds like you're scared of what you don't know or understand. So, I mean, that's what that sounds like. It's just, and he owns a cheese company in South Carolina. I mean, who really cares what his thoughts are? I mean, and the only place this is the first time I've ever heard of palmetto cheese, you know, and I've eaten cheese since I can remember, you know, like.
To be fair, I'm pretty sure palmetto cheese is for white people.
Probably.
It tastes terrible.
Well, because, I mean, could you imagine any person, like, even like Hispanic person or black person, like, oh, I'm going to go pick up some palmetto cheese? They'd be like, hell no, man, that's like cockroach cheese. Like, why would I ever, like, no.
This is why it's great to get a black perspective.
Oh, of course. So let me go ahead and just say this. Earlier this month, Henry called a press conference and apologized for his remarks.
Oh,
is anybody shocked by that, right?
No, the white guy spouts off, realizes it's terrible for his, shareholders, and then he's like, "Oh, I'm sorry."
It gets better than that, though.
Oh, great.
I am profoundly sorry for those who I offended with my post last week. My comments were hurtful and insensitive, Henry told reporters on September 3rd. I spent that past 10 days listening and learning. Please consider the hundreds of South Carolinians' jobs that depend on its success, he pleaded.
Yeah, and his yacht.
So I got a reply from Costco.
Yes. Costco be like, nah.
So, the whole issue is Costco pulled this thing, right? Because they were too, quote, woke, right?
First of all,
I hear Sean laughing.
Can we just stop for a second? Why is this news source saying that Costco is woke? Is that offensive, Sean?
No, I mean, it's not offensive, but is it like the news source that's saying that, or is it the cheese company?
No, it's the news source.
But either way. So Costco...
Yeah, it was just like, I was like, what kind of professional company says that they're too woke for me? I mean, I was like, what?
Well, no,
but even the news, I mean, that just like lets you know. I mean, it kind of sounds like a source like the Daily News or some like
Costco's not walking in here saying like, I'm woke.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? That's like something like the Wendy's girl would say on Twitter when she's like roasting McDonald's or something.
Exactly.
Oh man, can the Black Lives Now pack be like the Wendy's Twitter girl?
Well, you have to get a Twitter first.
That's
right,
kind of like a Wendy's roast.
I know.
Right there.
All right, well,
he's like, well, you gotta get one first. So he needs to be our Wendy's girl.
I'm gonna task Sean with make Twitter accounts.
Awesome.
Okay.
I'll have to get my my red pigtails out.
Yes. All right. So the official response from Costco is, and if you guys can imagine the most corporate legalese that you can, right? Are you ready for this? Costco rotates items in and out during the course of the year. They will occasionally add and drop products as a matter of normal business. We remain optimistic that Palmetto cheese will be back on the shelves in the not-too-distant future. And Costco has not commented on its decision to remove Palmetto cheese from a portion of its 785 stores.
You see what I'm saying? That's exactly what I was saying. I'm telling you, that was like just an excuse for them. They probably didn't like the name anyway, and it probably didn't sell well in Florida. I mean, something called palmetto, which is like one of the most disgusting creatures, by the way. You know, like in Florida, you know, like you named a food product after it.
By the way, it's a cockroach that is 5 times the size of a German cockroach, with wings, with no boundaries, and it will dive bomb you. If you get too close, it will fly at you, not away from you like most animals are afraid of humans. No, this thing will come at you. It is on constant high alert offense mode.
So it's like a cocained up cockroach.
Yeah, no, like a crack cockroach is going to come at you and grab your wallet.
Nice.
No, it's scary.
It's gonna bug you? That's crazy.
Oh.
Okay, so I've got my second story here. Are you guys ready for this one?
I'm not 100% done with this one.
Okay, go ahead. Let's do it.
I'm going to say... Sean, listen.
Yeah, I'm listening.
You're a single dad, but with a girlfriend now.
Yeah, you know, like...
Off the market, ladies. Off the market, ladies.
So,
yeah.
It's not like you buy in bulk, right?
No.
But snack foods and stuff, you need to buy in bulk, so go to Costco. I'm going to say right now, I endorse Costco. Boom.
And I have no idea where I'm going to get my bulk palmetto cheese anymore.
Well, no, screw palmetto cheese.
Sure, you know, under... pile of roaches, you could probably find some palmetto cheese.
Gross. All right, next news story.
All right, guys, here we go. Okay, our next news story. This one is a little more serious. The last one was a little more lighthearted, right? But this one's a little more serious. And
you teased us.
And I'd actually be curious to get both of your opinions on this. I think this one is personally offensive to me.
Okay.
All right.
Why is it taking away your right to be Spanish and drink?
No.
Oh.
I love to drink, and then I'm Spanish, but no, it has nothing to do with that. I think it's just wildly offensive. Okay. So.
All right. Sorry, I'll be serious.
A Louisville police major on Antifa and BLM. Basically, his stance was, quote, "They will be the ones washing our cars."
Ew. First of all, it's Louisville. They don't even know how to say it.
What does that even mean? I mean,
okay, let me go more into that. A message purportedly sent by a Louisville police major last month claims police officers and their families are, quote, being doxxed. You guys are familiar with being doxxed, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And says,
but for our listeners, why don't we?
So being doxxed means getting your personal information being sent out there on the internet. You're being personally identified, so people know your name, address, so on. And he's saying that people who are part of the Antifa and Black Lives Matter movements are the same people washing officers' cars, working at Walmart, or living in their parents' basements. He went on to say, quote, "I know it is hard to keep our thoughts and opinions to ourselves sometimes.
Yeah, I know.
Especially when we, as a whole or as an individual, become the target of people in the public who criticize what we do without even knowing the facts. That was the beginning, the beginning of the message, right?
Mm-hmm.
Then he went on to say, these Antifa and BLM people, especially the ones who just jumped on the bandwagon, quote, yesterday, because they became, quote, woke, and then he said, in parens, insert eye roll here, do not deserve a second glance or thought from us. Our little pinky toenails have more character, morals, and ethics than these punks have in their entire body. Do not stop to their level, which is not the right saying, right? Stoop. Do not respond to them. If we do, we only validate what they did. Do not make them important because they are not. They will be the ones washing our cars, cashing us out of Walmart, or living in their parents' basement playing Call of Duty for their entire life.
Whoa.
It just, I don't know, like that sounded like a giant like oxymoron statement because like I'm not I don't know anything about Antifa or I know what it is, but
Yeah.
I'm not really involved in that. But
Right.
I could tell you if you're just listening to that and you're saying like, oh, these people are going to be at Walmart, which is implying that they're not very well educated and they're not like applying themselves for whatever reason. And then they're saying like we're being doxxed. I mean, you got to be pretty smart to dox somebody. I mean, you're not gonna be a cashier at the Dollar Tree and then like know how to like hack someone's personal files and get their information and put that out there. I mean, especially like law enforcement, some of those people are pretty hard. Some easy, some hard, but it would take effort. I can't see like your average Walmart cashier caring enough to even want to go do that. So it sounds like he's like saying like the opposite of what he's saying in his statement.
Yeah, and I think it's more so that this guy is basically, basically just saying that anyone who's either Antifa or BLM are losers.
Well, first of all, you can't categorize them as one and the same.
When did they group? Did I miss something? Did BLM and Antifa like come together or like unify or something? Did I miss that?
I think the BLM movement had a extremist Antifa break off where there's this extremist group Antifa and they I think they were part of it at first, but I don't know. It's just this extremist group that is nothing to do with the BLM movement anymore.
Yeah.
Because remember in the earliest days of the BLM movement, there was this rioting and looting and at peaceful protests, and they were saying like, this is not us. And then they came out like, justifying it that this was Antifa. It's a whole other group, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah, I mean, that would be like, what's that festival called that all the country people like to go to and they cook hot dogs out of their truck bed or whatever? Like, I forgot what that...
Rib Roundup?
I don't know. It's like some festival they do every year. But, like, it'd be the equivalent of saying, like, the KKK is responsible for that, like, said, like, country festival or whatever. And, even though some of the people from that festival may be associated with that doesn't mean that particular, like, festival for country music is related to the KKK, you know what I mean? Like, just because, like, there's some bad apples doesn't mean you associate, like, this whole other separate thing with that, And it just seems like people are finding, people that don't care or just looking for a way to attack something, always going to find a way to put a negative spin on it, no matter what it is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I think more so to that, too, though, is that, this is one of many officers that are saying this type of opinion, right?
How much do you want to bet this Louisville police major is white?
Well, I mean, he's probably...
100 to 1.
100 to 1. Yep.
Yeah.
It just is what it is, right?
It's just these types of things are just so disappointing to hear white people say. Just like the cockroach cheese guy, you know? It's like all lives matter. And, you know, I used to be that person. All lives matter. But I thought I was saying the right thing. You know, everyone matters. I truly did not think that I was racist. I thought that it was just like, I want to be inclusive to everyone. But the ignorance behind that was I just didn't realize how completely disproportionate black people were treated across the board. I mean, we're talking police interaction, medical care, everything. And the more I learn, the more I realize how disrespectful that is. And, you know, like I said in the first podcast, I don't think anyone is a complete lost cause, but damn if I'm not disappointed when I hear white people say stupid stuff like this.
Yeah, I mean, you can't waste too much time with like people that are going to be set in their ways and say dumb things, because there's going to be a lot of people that do that. It's just like you got to make sure that those kind of people are not the people in power, and that boils down to like the whole like voting and accountability thing. You know, if you can't hold these people in power accountable, then it doesn't really matter anything else you do. I mean, we got to get out there and vote and make the changes, you know, in certain levels.
Absolutely. I feel bad for everyone who lives in Louisville that is under this police jurisdiction. They all need to vote.
Yeah, it's like people, like, you got to understand, when there's a system in place that benefits somebody, right? Like not even like Black Lives Matter related, but when there's like some sort of mechanism that's benefiting you, and it's like bringing you money or making your life easier, or, you know, giving you some sort of power, you're not going to want to change that willingly. I mean, because why would you? You know, like your life is good right now. So somebody comes in there, you know, Antifa, Black Lives Matter, your neighbor, and they're like, hey, look, you shouldn't be doing that because, you know, it's hurting people. But like, you're like, no, I should be doing that because, you know, at the end of the day, it's making my life a lot, you know, more convenient. You're going to inconvenience my life because it, you know, it's hurting said person, you know, and that's a lot of what's going on.
Yeah, true. Are we ready for our third news story?
Yeah, I don't have a scripted news story for this one, right? But I think what I wanted to do was just play a quick 2-minute clip from CNBC, if that's okay with you guys.
Yeah.
And this one is, you know, basically titled that leaders deny black mortgage applicants 80% higher than white applicants.
Is that because they have bad credit? Because
Sean's like, I don't want to hear this. just skip the story altogether.
No. Listen, Sean, this particular black homeowner faced discrimination in appraisals just for being black. It had nothing to do with his credit. Actually,
I'm not even sure if this is the same story, to be honest, but we'll see, because if halfway through the story, Sean, just tell me to pause it and I will. All right, so I'm gonna.
No, you're good. Go ahead.
I'm gonna go ahead and play it. So let's hear it and let's see what we have to say about it. Okay.
All right.
When Achille Ackridge saw interest rates plummet last spring, he decided to refinance the mortgage on his Maryland townhouse. The original loan was in his partner's name, but she recently started her own business, so they figured his credentials would make it easier.
Over six-figure salary, 800 credit score,
not bad, huh?
gainfully employed.
He loaded all of his information into a mortgage search site, and the calls started coming in. All the lenders asked his race, but all said he did not have to disclose it. He told the first lender he was black.
So the gentleman came back and advised, turns out we're not interested in townhomes right now.
Why not?
Of course.
He just said it's an industry standard right now.
He also disclosed his race to the second lender, who said they could do the refinance, no industry issue with townhomes, but at a rate higher than what he already had.
So I started to realize maybe I need to not disclose my race. They said it's an option that I have.
A majority of black home buyers are concerned about qualifying for a mortgage, while less than half of white buyers are, according to a Zillow survey, because lenders deny mortgages for black applications at a rate 80% higher than that of white applicants, according to the most recent data from the Home Mortgage Disclosure Act. As for Achille, 2 more lenders called, and he declined to answer the race question. Both gave him competitive market rates. One even tried to beat the other. Suddenly, the process was easy, as it had been for Achilles' partner Melissa when they bought the home together 2 years ago.
I know that I am not the only one to go through this. I know I'm not the first, and I know I won't be the last, but at least I want someone else out there to understand that this is not normal, that this is not right.
Wow. That's crazy.
What do you think, Sean?
Well, damn, I'm gonna put white on my mortgage application.
Yeah.
Thank you for that.
Yeah.
So
You're
it
gonna be
turns
like,
out...
what race are you? I'm gonna be like, I'm Caucasian.
Oh, wow.
From the islands of Caucasus.
Yes. I don't know. I mean...
Damn.
You know,
That's so
I mean, that
sad.
is... I mean, it's a... I wish I could say it was surprising. I mean, it's not. It's not surprising. It's sad and disappointing, that's true. But am I really surprised?
Not really.
So much. I mean, you can...
Yeah.
Well, that's one thing about America. And on some level, you could always count on the financial institutions and those in power to be somewhat racist. You know,
Yeah.
And it's kind of sad.
It's just, yeah, it's super sad to me.
You know, and that's the thing, right? Is that you've got a guy who admittedly was making 6 figures.
I know.
This dude's making 6 figures.
He definitely didn't have bad credit, Sean. How you doing?
Yeah, so I mean that's why I'm like, thank you for the heads up, man. I mean, I know this is a podcast, but you made my life a lot easier. I mean, I'm like, to all the black people out there getting mortgages right now, listening to this, you know what to do.
Yeah. Decline.
Select the white option. You will get 100% approved.
No race specified.
First of all,
exactly. No
do it
no
online.
Race specified. That's right. I feel like
Oh my
what is
God.
it? Like there's a whole gender identity thing going on right now. It's what you identify as. I identify as Caucasian on this mortgage at this time. You can't tell me what
Identify
I
as
identify
rich. Identify as with a lot of money.
My name is
Yeah,
Sean. I identify as white and extremely wealthy.
Yeah, exactly.
Give me my
Like, you know,
townhouse.
Yeah, you know, you gotta
Oh my
like.
God.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, I mean, it's in all reality though, and seriousness and stuff. That is something that needs to be addressed by legislators, and they have to have rules against things like that, because that is definitely discriminatory lending.
Yeah.
So I mean,
Well, and
rules
I
in
thought
place-
we had rules against that after the whole real estate collapse earlier, right? But apparently, no.
Yeah, right?
we got rules against predatory lending.
Predatory lending. You're right.
Yeah.
Not discriminatory
Yeah.
lending. You're right.
No.
You're right.
Predatory.
It's like, now we won't give you a loan. We won't give you a loan all willy nilly anymore, and give you like a 30% interest rate. But we'll tell you no because you're black, and we think you're high risk because you're black.
Exactly. Because either you marked black on your application, or you have a name that looks black. Sorry.
Well, that's right.
That's so funny. Oh man.
Yeah, that no race thing would be hard pressed to pass if your name is like Daquan or something like that,
Yeah, but Sean Alexis, I don't know. I think you're good.
Yeah, man. Like I think I can pass as like a French Canadian or something.
That's terrible.
What is it with you with French, man? Come on.
I know.
I don't know, man. I'm not dating any French girls anymore, so I'm out of that market. So that's.
But he was like 100 for 100 before this.
Yeah, I know, right?
Yeah, like the French girls were like burning me, and they were laughing like ha ha ha. You know, like, and they were loving it. And I'm just over here in like a pile of tears. But
Oh my goodness.
Aww.
All right,
Yeah.
so let's go ahead and switch some gears here for a minute. Mel, do you want to go ahead and introduce our next section here for just a moment?
Yeah, so Sean, we had an interesting post today from Orion. I believe I'm saying that right. If not, I'm sure he'll tell me. But we had a really good post at our group, Black Lives Now. I'll probably remove from the group for this post, but I believe this perspective warrants discussion. What if 3 black cops showed up to a white person's house because of orders from their superior and were charged with crimes because they shot back after being shot at first? Would you riot then? The real injustice is the system ordered a no-knock search warrant on a civilian without criminal records. The system tried to bypass due process, and all too often this happens disproportionately to people of color. Penalizing officers for the decision of leadership doesn't make the world a better place. Now, before we comment, I want to welcome Orion. I believe that's his name, but he can let me know.
Yeah.
He's here as a guest. How are you doing? Are you here, Orion?
I'm doing well. Thank you for letting me be included, and sharing perspectives because that's ultimately how everybody learns more. And the name's Orion, like the constellation Orion's belt.
Oh, that makes sense. I'm
Great.
sorry.
Thanks, Ryan, for joining
No,
us.
more people get it wrong than right, so I'm used to it. You know what I mean?
Okay.
So,
Sorry about that.
Orion, that's an actually amazing name, and I
thank you very
am
much.
kicking myself that I got that wrong.
So, Ryan, you're here with Melody, Rich, and Sean.
how you doing?
Correct.
All right.
So this is a 2-person podcast, and there are people listening in, or is this like a big group?
No, this is usually a Melody and Rich podcast. We have a guest, Sean.
Oh, so then this gets rebroadcasted at a later date, and then people can basically listen in as they see fit.
You got it.
You got it.
Okay, now I understand. Okay.
So what you got,
And
Ryan?
everything gets posted in its entirety. It's not like a clip of, and some of my words can be snippet. Okay, as long as everything's posted in its entirety, I'll feel less apprehensive about sharing points of view.
Nope, we do
absolutely.
We do not edit anything that we're going to talk about right now.
Even me totally botching your name will be all included.
Fair enough. I can deal with those parameters.
Okay, great. So I just wanted to thank you, first of all, for posting this because it's a good discussion piece. I feel like our group specifically is basically the reason I founded it was we needed a safe space to talk, listen, and learn. So you're right on target. You're asking questions. You're willing to learn, and you're not, bullying anyone. You just want to know, have some feedback. And I think you got some good feedback. What do you think?
No, I got really good feedback. And it's one of the things is, I'm not sure if you noticed, when people combat it back, I wasn't combative at all. Because
No, absolutely.
I'm a firm believer you have to collect a lot of evidence from a lot of different sources because you don't want to be the person that's stuck in an echo chamber. You know what I mean? I'm a big person. I'll watch 30 minutes of CNN, then 30 minutes of Fox News because I like to watch how they take the same story and report it in a different way.
Right,
and a lot of people
exactly.
don't realize that they're only getting one perspective and they're missing out on key information on both sides. I'm very neutral when it comes to politics, but I'm also, too, as I've seen, anytime people have huge disagreements, it's usually because they're being fed a perspective that makes it almost impossible for them to get along with somebody fed a different perspective.
It sounds like you're my husband right now.
Yeah, I love you.
Man, it sounds like you spend a lot of time fact checking. I mean,
Yeah.
you have
I
to with
try
Fox
to
News.
because I don't want to look dumb because I got the facts wrong. You know what I mean? If we
Sure.
interpret the facts differently, like I can almost live with that. But if we're debating a different topic, it's impossible to see eye to eye because we're not even having the same evidence to begin with.
Right. That's true. And what do you
And
think?
also, too, this is a long-term view. Some of these issues, I kind of consider these issues are going that that situation I proposed, I don't think that's happening right now. However, the world is changing, and that situation very well could happen in the future. And I'll put it this way, it's more likely to happen in the future because the demographics and the power structure of the country are changing. Maybe not fast enough to be fair, but it is changing. So stuff like that is going to be more likely to happen. So you don't want to box yourself into this is wrong now, and now it's not benefiting the same people it was supposed to benefit in the beginning.
Right. Yeah. You know, there are several agencies who are looking to diversify their officer base. So you're right. This could be a situation.
No, well, I'm in California, and it's already happening here. So in California, we're having a mass exodus of white people that have retirement benefits. White cops are just retiring. They're like, I'm not trying to deal with this. I got my benefits. I'm out. And then what happens is more and more minorities are filling these voids because the young white officers, they don't consider the position to be as valuable as it used to be, and they consider it like they don't want to get involved with what's going on. So the police force is changing, exponentially as it's going on. So there's going to be a situation as somebody who's half Caucasian, I understand that I'm going to have a lot more interaction with police officers. In the past, I could take for granted that they look like for me. In the future, that's going to be less and less of an issue.
I do think that the interactions I've had with non-Caucasian officers are better overall than the interactions I've had with Caucasian officers, which is purely anecdotal. So that's not a scientific fact. And I recognize that. But I think that it's good that we diverse. We need representation. What do you think about that?
I definitely agree. I also think there's certain situations. I gave an analogy. I've seen some situations where there was a white officer being called to a situation, and basically the person was accusing that person of being racist. And I felt like they should have called for backup and then maybe had a different cop handle that situation. To me, it's the same analogy as maybe a woman would feel more comfortable complaining about sexual harassment to another woman.
They do that.
HR departments say that they don't want to have. You can't have only back in the 70s, you had HR complaint where you had women complaining to men, and it kind of perpetuated the old boys network. And I think that can happen in other scenarios as well.
So for decades now, if there's a woman officer on staff, if they have any kind of rape case or possible rape, molestation, stuff like that, they always have the female show up. And I feel like you're right. They should always have multiple ethnicities. They always have that one Spanish officer who can come and translate. Why don't they have Black, Haitian, Jamaican, whatever, to deal with situations that might have a lot of issues lost in communication culturally?
And can I ask Orion, are you NorCal or SoCal?
I'm NorCal. I'm Sacramento.
NorCal.
I'm originally a Floridian. That's how I kind of got linked up with this East Coast group because that's where that's where I grew up.
Cool. I spent some time in NorCal myself.
Okay.
Well, we're trying to be national, so spread the word, Orion.
I will. I'll start inviting people now that I feel like open discussion is allowed because I think a lot of people need to speak with other people of different points of view, or we're never really going to understand each other.
Yeah, absolutely. We want to be bipartisan and open for discussion and learning.
And Sean, you got any points in there?
Yeah. So just to. I hear what you're saying. What was your name again? I'm sorry, I missed it.
Orion.
My name's Orion. Good. Good.
Orion. That's
first
right.
name Orion.
All right, thanks, Orion. So
and what you guys brought up about the name, I got a cool little story that's anecdotal. If you guys don't mind me telling it.
Yeah, go for it.
Go for it.
I'm actually only half Caucasian. So my mom is white, and that's where my last name Good come from. My dad is Spanish, and he had a very ethnic sounding last name.
Just like me.
I applied for the same company with both my dad's last name and my mom's white last name, and they hired the white me and didn't hire the Spanish me.
What's your Spanish last name?
I prefer not to disclose it because
no,
okay, no, you don't have to.
There.
Yeah, but
Ours
hey,
is Rodriguez.
Orion, I hear you,
Yeah,
buddy.
I'll have my sister explain the backstory. There's potentially a court case in the past and the future based on it, so I can't disclose it.
No worries.
No worries.
Hey, don't do it. But I'll tell you what, Orion, I'm the same way. My mom is white, my dad is Hispanic, and given last name, and which is ironic. I had a different situation to where I got some scholarships and whatnot out of my last name.
He exploited it.
I exploited my last name.
Okay, well, I did the opposite because I applied for the Spanish scholarships. To be honest with you, I always flip-flopped based on what benefited me at the moment.
Sure.
And
There's nothing wrong
I think
with that.
that's human nature.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Of course.
No, we appreciate your input because we want to make sure that everyone listening, everyone who's part of our page or our, group, Facebook, whatever, we all are here to learn. Sean can help us. Our other admins can help us. We're just a bunch of white people coming late to the party, to be honest.
Some of us. Not all of us are white.
All right.
We got a bunch of non-white, right?
Yeah, we do. Yeah, but a lot of the group is white, and we're here to learn, and that's the point.
Exactly.
So to that point, as far as like what we're talking about, which was the no-knock warrant and Breonna Taylor, just to bring it back to that, there was almost an exact same case that happened in 2006 in Atlanta, Georgia. And this lady, this white lady's name was Katherine Johnson, I think her name was, something to that effect. And in 2006, she was a new no-knock warrant was served on her. She was like, I think she was like in her 50s or something. And they kicked in the door, shot, and killed her. Now, what happened was the officer was sentenced to 10 years. Her family was paid millions of dollars. And everybody was, the people, most of the officers involved in it were either fired or punished accordingly. Now, that's the almost exact same thing that happened to Breonna Taylor. The only difference is the victim was white versus black.
So they got the address correct when it happened? So it was the right address and so forth?
No, it was a botch. It was the incorrect address. They served a no-knock warrant to the wrong house in Atlanta, Georgia.
Okay, so, I mean, that's one discrepancy. I'm assuming this sounds bad, but homeowners, regardless of color, tend to get preferential treatment. It's not fair. You know what I mean? I'm not saying it's unilaterally fair or unilaterally implied, but those are little weird things that happen. You know what I mean? Like, I get there is enough where I don't know. You'd have to really know why the address got botched. You know what I mean? Like that's a.
I mean, but does it really matter though? It's the same thing. Like,
yeah.
I mean, did they say? Did they say why the address got botched at Breonna Taylor? No, they just said it did. I mean, the point is that the fact of the matter is that white people, when it comes to the law, at the very least, the law, they get preferential treatment. So, and law enforcement, it works for the government, and so if you mix the two, it's like you're getting bonus points at that point. You got a white person, plus you're working for the police department. I mean, unless you're killing someone blatantly or doing some erroneous stuff and caught on camera, you're probably not going to get sentenced to anything that bad. You might just lose your job or something. I mean, which is sad. I mean, because these are people, innocent people that are dying. I mean, that girl was like, walking down the hallway in the middle of the night of her house. You know what I'm saying? Like, these are people's lives. No,
I have some huge problems with the whole Breonna Taylor, how the cops enforced it. The mere fact, if they didn't answer, just put a note on the door. You know what I mean? Like, there's a certain due process. You shouldn't be assuming that somebody's hard to apprehend. So that, to me, that was an immediate red flag. I also had a major discrepancy of the time of day that it was. Why was it that late at night where people are supposed to be asleep? They're supposed to be startled. I can give you a true story. I had a roommate walk into she busted in the house because she forgot the key. I took a golf club and I almost freaking took her head off. You know what I mean? Because it was in the middle of the night. My house, in my opinion, I thought it was an intruder, and I almost hurt somebody the last person in the world I wanted to hurt because it was such a startling event. So the way Kenny responded, I consider to be 100% normal, and the fact that they put him in that position is a huge injustice. And that was my biggest problem with the thing, is you can't put human beings in that position to begin with, because that was a military tactic for a very low-level crime. If it's not like they had a drug empire. They've been trying to get a hold of these people for 10 years. This was low-level, petty stuff. They could have tried to apprehend them at 4 o'clock in the day, not at 12:45 at night. You know what I mean? And also it's an apartment complex, so it's not like they're running like a drug dynasty and they've got like they're a cartel leader. So the fact that they use military tactics on a regular citizen, I consider to be appalling.
Absolutely.
So, can I ask you a question? What is your view on the fact that they shot 19 times after striking her at least 3 times before the other officer fired off the remaining shots? Because one officer struck Breonna Taylor, I think it was like 3 times before the other officer rattled off like another like 12 shots or so. What's your view on the 19 shots that were fired?
I think it says a lot about the state of mind of the officers, that they felt that they were going into a very highly contentious area. And I would really question why they believed that they were so emotional that even after she was most likely, permanently dead, they kept going. To me, it shows that they had a mental aggression in their mindset would be my guess. Now, I wasn't there, but that seemed like a lot. Now, what I don't know is how many times Kenny shot at them. So, like, I don't know, and I don't know the statistics. 1, okay. So that again, that leads to is extremely aggressive. I'm sure. So to me, I think the officers had like we're going to get these people kind of mentality going in from the outside looking in, and that's highly problematic.
Yeah,
absolutely. And to that effect, these stories happen so frequently. It's kind of sad, but a couple of weeks ago, I would say it's probably closer to a month at this point, there was a guy that was riding a bicycle on the wrong side of the road, on the bike path though, but on the opposite side, got off the bike, ran from the officers. He didn't have any weapons or anything in his possession, on him when he was shot. And he was shot. They fired, I think it was like 20 rounds at him, at an unarmed man that had his hands in the air. They shot him 20 times and killed him. Black man that was getting off a bicycle and running. So, this is not like, if it was like, hey, look, these people busted into Breonna Taylor's house and, they shot 19 shots because this one guy got shot in the leg, that'd be one thing. You'd be like, okay, I get it.
Well,
but then like you got a guy on a bicycle in plain sight, with no weapon, hands in the air, getting shot 20 times, it starts to become like a pattern. You're like, okay, well, excessive force.
Well, I believe that too, because I one of the things is the mere fact they felt they need to get a no-knock warrant to begin with, that showed a highly like hunting down citizens type of mentality. You know what I mean? Because if you looked at it from a strictly logical point of view, I don't think somebody with a white-sounding name in a certain neighborhood, they could even get that legal procedure approved of to begin with.
Oh, good point.
Yeah, so that's where I thought the biggest injustice was, and that's why. And then they lied about what happened on the police report. So therefore, they should have all been fired right then and there. Because the first thing they did after killing another human being was, I don't want to get in trouble with this. That was their first thing. It wasn't like, let's report what happened so the judicial system can weed this out and make better systems and procedures in the future. It's like, no, I need to get out of this so I can keep being a cop.
Wow. That's
and
really deep,
you have
man.
And I have these anecdotal stories. Now, one of my stories, I have a situation that's happened twice in my life. It's not something I read in the news. It happened in my life. So one day, there's a black woman.
Just a quick editing note. We actually lost a little bit of audio due to some technical difficulties with our mic system. Just a note that nothing has been edited or cut, but we did lose some continuity in our interview. With that said, I'm going to go ahead and play the remaining audio that was captured. Thanks, everybody, for listening.
Said nothing because we're just let the officer kind of go on his little rant, and we're just trying to get it over and done with. And this time I actually spoke up and said, hey, I've jaywalked 1,000 times, and the only time I get stopped with it is when you're detaining somebody else that doesn't look like me. And then that time he kind of just let us go immediately because I think he was scared of where the conversation could go.
Wow. That's crazy. And he had nothing to say.
He did. He just. I think he asked if I was a lawyer, and I said I don't have the right. I don't have to answer that question.
There you go.
I'm not a lawyer, but I knew if I said it like that, he'd be so scared that I was, that he would basically, end the interaction because, it wasn't that big of a deal. You know what I mean? He was just looking for excuses to, ask people questions. You know, and he was being an investigator instead of, a protector.
Right. And that's, I think, where we have the issue is that we want the police to go back to protect and serve, not, fight and instigate.
Yeah. Well, that's why I brought the military example.
Yeah.
Because the military is a different objective. They're there to end the threat. You know what I mean? Whereas the cops are there to prevent the threat. It's a totally different mindset. But sometimes they give the police department starts having these military mindsets, and it causes these escalations in these neighborhoods, and it creates a divide where the citizens don't trust the police officers, so the police officers don't trust the citizens, and then it turns into these neighborhoods that it's almost like the chicken or the egg. Nobody knows why it's happening, but it's going to continue to happen as long as those mindsets exist.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, you know what really surprises me? Like I get surprised by things once in a while, but the thing that really has been surprising to me is that there's so many people, or at least they claim to be surprised by the amount of racism and discrimination that's still going on to Black people in America. They're, it was almost like white people were living in this mental, dystopian world where they were safe and racism didn't exist, and it's crazy.
It's the white bubble. We got to have a whole podcast on the white bubble.
Well, to some white people, the racism didn't exist until the internet came about because it was just something they saw on TV. It was nothing something they were ever confronted with. The internet caused people from the worst ghetto neighborhoods. I'm sorry to use that term, but I only use that term so you would imagine what the people look like in that neighborhood, to some of the most rural areas. And those people didn't have access to each other. And then the internet made these people in these rural areas have to talk to these people. And they're like, what do you mean racism doesn't list? I'm nice to the 2 Black people in the world I know. But they're in a bubble where they have complete ignorance to other people's situations, and they don't understand it because they've never seen it. I grew up in very city-like environment. For about 4 of my 12 years of school, I went to predominantly Black high schools, or Black schools, because some of them were in junior, 4th grade as well. So I had a lot different perspective. I've been the only white person in the classroom for 1 year of my life.
So is my husband.
But I've also been in schools where, when I lived in North Carolina for a year, because I moved around a lot, where we only had 5 Black kids in the whole school. So I've seen both sides. And when you have these different perspectives, you see how humans act very differently when they're in the control position and not in the control position.
Mm-hmm.
Rich, I got a question, just to get a little perspective from you. I'm just curious. Just I want to pick your mind for a sec. Are you there?
Yeah, Rich is here.
Yeah, all right. So, Rich, my question is...
Hold on one second. I'm sorry. Rich's mic is dead.
Well,
what's your question?
All right. So my question, Rich, is this. Why is it that, I guess, when nobody can make a life, right? You the only way you make a life is by making a new life. You have a baby, whatever. We know how that works, the birds and the bees. But, when you kill somebody, they're dead. There's no coming back. There's no thriller. People aren't coming out of the ground like zombies. So, why is there such an insensitivity when it comes to the murdering of anybody in America? I mean, it's just Black people get murdered or whatever, innocent, or, especially the innocent ones, of course. They get murdered by cops or other, racist people or something like that. And then it's just the first thing it seems that people go to is justifying why they were killed, instead of hey, this is a person first and foremost. and this person has a family and people that love them. So like why is the first mechanism in the mind of, you know, Americans like, hey, let's justify the reason why this person was killed, and not like have any consideration that the fact that this person's no longer here on this earth and there's not $1 billion is not going to bring this person back. And, you know, why is that not a thing? You know, why are we so cold on that regard? Why do you think that is, Rich?
Man, that's a good question. And it's a really long, good question that he can't hear because of his mic. But
well, it's just, you know, I mean, what do you think, Melody? I mean, you're white. What do you think about that?
I think, number one, there's a huge disparity that has just been passed down from generation to generation, that black people's lives just don't matter as much white. You see it from 400 years ago when black people were stripped and were naked, sold at auction. And you see it now where a police officer murders a white person and murders a black person. And the first thing that happens when the black person is murdered is, well, they have a charge from 20 years ago, and that's why blah, 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 blah. The white person, the police officers are immediately fired and charged, so there's never any media.
Yeah, I mean, you know, to me, I think the problem, a lot of people are like, the law's this and the law's that, and I do think that laws need to be changed. You know, don't get me wrong, I do agree that there do need to be changes significantly in the laws to protect minorities, but I think that the real issue in America is there's no heart in America, in the culture, in American culture. There's no regard for human life. Yeah. And I think the insensitivity in the culture that's breeding this mentality, you know, where it's money first, human lives second, is part of the problem, you know, because regardless whether it's black, white, or in between, I mean, it's still a human life and none of us can bring them back. And I think, you know, that's a cultural problem that I don't think has been addressed, you know, yet as part of this problem.
That's a good point, Sean. I think that you're right. I mean, we've been so desensitized by media, violence in shows, video games. We don't see the fragility of life until it hits home.
Exactly.
Yeah,
and
I think cognitive dissonance. People don't want to believe that the world's unfair and unjust, so they justify it so they don't have to feel like the world's not safe and unfair, even if it pertains to somebody else that's not them. Yeah. So, and it's to protect their own mindset and their own security reasons. And unfortunately, it causes them to be desensitized to other people. Yeah. And one of the things I've tried to tell people is you can't give Breonna Taylor justice because she cannot be brought back. You know what I mean? The only thing you can do is prevent the system from somebody else having their life taken away for circumstances that should have never happened.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And that was the original point of the post was, don't let these cops go to jail and say justice was served, because there was a elected judge who's at a very high standard, who just kind of like, hey, let the cops do their thing. And you know what I mean? They know what they're doing, instead of really cold hard looking at the facts and saying, hey, what's the long-term consequences of signing these warrants? What could really go wrong? And that's and the thing is, they're at an ethical position to know the consequences of it, because they understand they're creating precedents and laws. And I didn't want the small people to take the blame when the big fish swim away. And I don't think a lot of people got that was the point of the post.
Right.
I absolutely agree. And I think that the regard for human life should be the absolute guideline for making laws in America. You know, like that should be put first. The regard for human life and the necessity to preserve human life, regardless of the race and color of the individual, should come first.
Busting into somebody's door at 1 o'clock in the thing, and the thing I go, well, they said they were police. It doesn't matter. I can knock on your door right now and say I'm a police officer. It doesn't mean I'm a police officer. That's not a burden of proof for somebody that's home is about to get invaded. And it doesn't matter if you're in a legal position. You're not. It's right in the Constitution. You can't just barge into people's homes. It's a legal search and seizure, and it was to prevent those incidents from happening. There shouldn't be this crime. This crime is so bad that we're going to put human lives into danger because it wasn't a violent situation until the cops made it a violent situation, and that's what ultimately made it wrong. Most people that sell drugs, they do it not because they want to make money. You know what I mean? And the situation was that person that was previously that got linked to the crime was no longer part of that premise either. So that made it even worse.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I just want to thank you, Orion, for being part of our podcast and giving us your input, starting a discussion on our page. And I want to thank you, Sean, excuse me, for being a guest as well. We have to do this more often.
All right, it was a pleasure.
Okay, well, thank you for having me. And I would like to maybe be on it again with a little bit more advanced notice and really bring up points from other points of view of like long-term consequences of how to make things better as a country. Because that's my ultimate reason why I joined the group is I was looking for two people from two different backgrounds to come up with commonalities of how we feel like this could be run that's most fair to everybody involved.
Yeah. And
that involves people from the other sides of the fence actually talking and discussing with each other.
Absolutely. And we've done a lot of interviews with Republican and Democrat, different sides of the fence. I think that we'll be doing a community podcast as well that you could be part of. So we'll definitely keep in touch.
No problem. Well, thank you for having me. I wasn't sure if you guys were going to gang up on me or what was happening, but I felt like my voice was heard and you guys were listening from where's this guy coming from? And I didn't feel prejudged or anything like that. And I really, really appreciated that.
Oh, well, thank you. We appreciate you.
Okay,
Take care.
Nice meeting you too, Sean and Melanie.
Thanks.
Bye.
And Rich says bye too. Sorry about that. Well, Sean, thank you so much. I'm going to end the podcast here. This is the second episode of the Watercooler, and you can find us on blnow.org. All of our social media is there, and join our group. Subscribe
I feel like
to
it
YouTube.
should be like clinking a beer now. It'd be like clink, clink, clink.
Yeah, let's cheers. Everybody cheers.
Yeah. All right. Well, it was nice talking to you guys. Until next time.
Yeah, till next time. Take care.